Good evening, YouTube, and welcome to Pipe Report. It's a sad day. The man who killed Kate Steinle was acquitted on all counts by a jury of his peers. He was acquitted on murder, and he was acquitted on manslaughter. He was guilty on one charge, a firearm charge. The trial happened in San Francisco, so I think that tells you why the verdict came back as not guilty. I mean, I think the verdict was more political. I really do. I think there were those on the jury who wanted their status, San Francisco, being a sanctuary city, who wanted their own independence away from Trump and the federal government, that they are willing to deny. See, this is highly political. This is highly political because the Republicans want to use Kate Steinle as more justification for a stronger border and stronger immigration control. The Democrats basically want to completely omit Kate Steinle, like she never existed, like these things do not happen in America, or she was the exception to the rule. What happened to her was a tragedy, but it's not common. And I feel bad for the family because the family knew that they were being used, but I want to just read some of this, mostly what the family had to say about it all. And you like that? Can you hear my computer fan? I just took a vacuum cleaner to it and I cleaned it a lot, so it should be good. It should be good. I don't know if vacuum cleaners and computers go well together, but hey, what can you do? We'll have to see what happens. Anyways, I gotta stop talking about vacuum cleaners. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure most of you want to hear about vacuum cleaners because, let's face it, vacuum cleaners are extremely interesting. But I'm going to shut up now. Anyways, as they waited the verdict in the trial of Kate Steinle's accused killer, her parents and brother had one overriding wish. It had nothing to do with the severity of the defendant's conviction. Above all, they wanted to mark the end, a public profile they neither sought nor enjoyed. That's what I kind of mentioned earlier. I mentioned earlier regarding the whole immigration. I'm going to scroll down a little bit now, though. They had decided not to attend court to hear the jury's decision. On Thursday, the verdict arrived. Jose Ines Garcia Zarate was acquitted of all murder and manslaughter charges. He was convicted merely of possession of a firearm. We're just shocked. Saddened and shocked. That's about it, Jim said. There's no other way you can coin it. Justice was rendered, but it was not served. Brad said he was not surprised, considering the epic failure that led Garcia Zarate to be released on the streets and end up with a loaded handgun on the pier that day. I'm stunned that they couldn't even get him on using the weapon, Brad said. And so went the court system's application of justice in a case that almost instantly became a cause célèbre for advocates of a crackdown on illegal immigration. Fox News championed Kate's law to impose mandatory prison sentences on those who return to the U.S. after deportation. Donald Trump, as candidate and now as president, has routinely cited Kate's death as justification for building a U.S.-Mexico border wall and punishing sanctuary cities. The Steinles have a decidedly nuanced view on sanctuary cities. They support the concept as a way to encourage immigrants, regardless of legal status, to come forward as victims or witnesses to crimes without fear of deportation. Yet they believe San Francisco went too far when then-Sheriff Ross Mirkarimi effectively ordered his department to cut off communication with federal immigration authorities. I want to read now what the brother said. Brad Steinle said he was just flabbergasted by the culmination of errors that led to his sister's death. Failure number one was the Fed's decision to send Garcia back to San Francisco on a 20-year-old drug charge, which they should have known would never be prosecuted. Basically, what he wanted there was to him be deported, like he should have been 5 times. He should have been deported 5 times. Or I think he actually was deported 5 times and he came back. Either way, if you were deported 5 times and you keep coming back, the punishment for your return should go up. It should go up, because what you are doing by not making the punishment more severe, you are basically acknowledging and you are allowing people to break the law and know that if they do break the law, who cares? They'll get deported, they can come right back, and the process will continue. There is no risk involved. There's no threat of detention involved. But if you tell an immigrant, illegal alien, that was deported, that if they come back and they are caught, you get an automatic 20-year sentence, a lot of those illegal aliens are going to be questioning whether or not they should come back at all. They're going to be questioning whether it is really necessary for them to go join their MS-13 gangs or to come here for work. And my thoughts on immigration, it'd be probably too long to kind of get into here, but I'm not one of those people that say deport them all, okay? But we have to uphold our immigration laws. I think we should make becoming a citizen far easier. I think we should definitely streamline it. I mean, we could definitely do immigration reform, make it easier for them to come here. But the fact is that Mexico is a poor country, and it has dilapidated areas. And the best way for Mexico to actually get out of that rut is to keep their good people there. The people should want to stay there. They should want to build up their community from the ground up. And it's hard for them to do that because the risk outweighs the reward. When you compare the risk of coming to the U.S. and getting a job here, that risk is far less severe than staying in Mexico and building their career that way. So they have more incentive to break the law and come to the U.S. Now, if you would add a stricter punishment, like 20-year jail sentence, which was K-Law was kind of designed for, the risk then counterbalances each other. Actually, the risk is probably less to stay in Mexico and try to make their lives better that way. Try to elect honest officials into their legislature, not people who are bought by the drug cartels. Nothing good ever comes easily. You can't just snap your fingers and expect to live in paradise. Look what happened to America. America didn't. We had to fight the British twice. But people nowadays, now when I say people, I know I'm generalizing, but we see people nowadays, they want everything now. Nobody wants to work anymore for their future. America was founded on a simple idea. You build your own future. It isn't handed to you. And from that mentality, from that paradigm, America became one of the greatest countries in the world, one of the most prosperous countries in the world. Mexico needs a revolution, a mental revolution, a revolution that they want to take their country back and they want to build on their country. But the only way to do that is to stop the incentives of coming to America. They have to understand that they have to build their country up. Their country can be like America. Despite what you hear, it is completely possible. But you have to be willing to want to change it. You have to be willing to accept the fact that there is going to be a war. Not necessarily a physical war, but a war of ideology. A war of differences between people. That is how a country ascends. That's how a country transcends below from a third world country to a country that can actually maintain a prosperous economy, to a country that actually has people wanting to move there due to their economic benefits. Now, I went on a huge digression there, so you can unsubscribe if you want. Just kidding, don't. But seriously. Okay. Where's that at now? Number one. No, here's the unsecured and loaded gun left in the Bureau of Land Management Ranger's vehicle, which was stolen, and perhaps worst of all, a sheriff's policy that allowed the release of a repeat felon who should have been deported. In Brad's view, those official actions were at least as responsible as the shooter for Kate's death. This trial, for me, is kind of the least important part of the puzzle, the brother said. The sequence of events that led up to this, and the fact that nothing has changed, is the most disheartening thing. It's like Siegfried and Roy. You stick your head in a tiger's mouth, and you're probably going to get bit at some point. I own a handgun, Brad interjected. I know that guns don't just go off, but you have a jury full of people, the vast majority of which probably haven't shot a gun before, and don't know the intricacies of how a gun works. And I think that's what it comes down to. You have jurors from San Francisco, which is considered one of the most progressive cities in the country, if not the most progressive. That you have the most strictest gun laws in California. So their whole notion, their whole perception of California differs, or how the rules and regulations should be imposed differ than those from other states. They don't understand, they don't see things like normal people do. And that's why I think it was easier for them to come not guilty, because they don't see the majority of illegal aliens being a threat to America. Not just a physical threat like in this case, but a threat could be psychologically, could be physical, could be economical, could be all of these things. Fiscal, they see it differently. So for them, by finding this man guilty, not necessarily murder, but finding him guilty of manslaughter, for instance, they are, in essence, voting against what their life consists of. They're voting against, they are finding someone guilty of a life that they choose to live in. So they are kind of, if you really want to get down to brass tacks, contradicting their own philosophy of life about stricter gun control, about the idea for open immigration, about sanctuary cities. Finding him guilty would contradict their way of life. And I think that is what it came down to. Again, this is conjecture. This is my opinion. I was not in the courtroom. I don't know. But this guy being found innocent, it blows my mind. And I think it has more to do with political and San Francisco, the type of dynamic, the social demographics that live there, has more to do with this case and the outcome than the actual case, than the actual events and scenario that took place that led to the death of Kate Steinle. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it. Let me know what you think, and I'm done.